as much as we admire the idea of marriage, as much as we respect the institution of marriage, as much as marriage is a standard that has been set in society that every man, every woman is expected to attain, I have looked at the theories, I have looked at the ideas, I have looked at the practices surrounding marriage, and I have come to a conclusion. Hello you guys, welcome back to this space. If you're seeing this space for the first time, my name is Kemdy Achike, and I want to say a big welcome to another episode on the Unspoken Script. Before we get into today's conversation, I want to say a big thank you to the Anambra State Governor and also the Edo State Governor for some of the policies, some of the laws they are trying to enact in the past few months. Because seriously, there are a lot of cultures and traditions that have become more of a problem. Something we practice that is supposed to be a form of identity, something we're supposed to be known for, a part of our history, the people we are. Those practices, those cultures, those traditions have sort of become like a string or a chain that has held us bound for so many years. And it has become a means of exploitation. It has translated into some level of cruelty. And for the government of the states, at least starting with these two states, Anambra State and Edo States, for them to be coming to terms with how these practices are affecting us as a people, and looking at ways they could enact laws that will put a stop, let me use that word, put a stop to some of this form of exploitation. I want to applaud them. It's a welcomed initiative. But anyway, there are things I've been thinking about for the longest time, which is one of the reasons why I decided to start this series, the Unspoken Script series, where we have these uncomfortable conversations. I feel like we're not at that point where we are ready for these conversations. And being someone who grew up in a society like ours here in Nigeria, we have come to see that a lot of times, most people in this part of the world do not like change. Change is not something that they embrace so quickly. Rather than changing, they will prefer to adapt, right? So as life evolves, they find a way to adapt to the new system that is taking shape, that is forming. But sometimes we don't need to adapt. Or most times we don't need to adapt, because adapting means that you're ready to take whatever it is that is dished at you. Adapting means that you're ready to, exist with whatever principles, whatever laws, whatever policies, whatever practices that has been put in place, even though it is eating away at your human right? At your right to existence. And so that is the reason why I do not see adaptation as we thriving. I see adaptation as a form of survival. It's a means of survival, like a means to an end. One of the thought process I've been having for the longest time is the issue of eradicating poverty in Nigeria. And I have been listening to the government, listening to people bring up ideas, theories on how, poverty can be eradicated in this part of the world. But one of the things I've come to realize is that as a people, we look at the symptoms. When somebody is ill, you look at the symptoms, you're like, oh, you're ill, yes, okay, what are you feeling? Oh, I'm having headache, I'm feeling feverish, I'm feeling pains in my joints and stuff like that. And they look at the symptoms and try to treat the illness without actually trying to figure out what is the root cause of this illness, right? Some people are really beginning to look at what are the causes of these problems we are facing as a people, and for me, when we talk about poverty eradication, it's not just about providing job opportunities. It's not just about increasing the minimum wage. It's not just about providing food to the poorest part of the country. It's not just about whatever, starting up small businesses. There are certain causes, certain problems at the roots of our society that needs our attention. And one of those things for me is some of the cultures and the traditions that we practice in this part of the world. Being somebody who was married for almost 14 years, I have looked at the processes, the systems, the ideology that surrounds marriage, in which marriage is built on. I have looked at it critically and I have come to a conclusion. As much as we respect marriage, as much as we see marriage, many of us see marriage as an achievement, as much as we see marriage as an institution that shows a level of maturity, people getting into marriage to us is seen as a form of maturity, a level of maturity, and the ability for these couples to procreate, which means that they are contributing to the future of our society, right? As much as we admire the idea of marriage, as much as we respect the institution of marriage, as much as marriage is a standard that has been set in society that every man, every woman is expected to attain, I have looked at the theories, I have looked at the ideas, I have looked at the practices surrounding marriage, and I have come to a conclusion. Marriage is also contributing to the level of poverty that we are experiencing in this part of the world in so many ways. It's a major contributing factor to the level of poverty. It's not just marriage. There are other factors contributing to this poverty, but marriage is one of them. And you might ask me how. When we talk about poverty eradication, one of the aspects we are looking at is gender equality. And when we talk about gender equality, there's this phrase that we've come up with when we say a woman can do what a man can do. But the truth is that when it comes to gender equality, it's not about a woman being able to do what a man can do. It's about a woman's right to existence, a woman's right to education, a woman's right to build a career, a woman's right to make the choices she believes is best for her, right? Coming from a culture or a society where women are conformed to a certain kind of lifestyle, where, number one, in many parts of Nigeria, women's education is not supported. A woman building a career is not supported. A woman cannot make a choice like deciding, I don't want to be married, I don't want to have children, I just want to be by myself. All of those things is something that, women have not been freely allowed to experience. Choices women have not been freely allowed to make. I remember back in the years, when I was younger, and I remember many women going back to school in those days, and my mother was one of the people who decided she wanted to go back to school. And she and her friend, started making plans of going back to school. And when I listen to the older people talk, they say that the reason why women need to be going back to school is not for them to build a career, it's not just for them to find a job, it's because the side chick pandemic is on the rise, right? The side chick pandemic is on the rise. Men are looking out of their marriages for conversations, for comfort, for interaction. Men are looking outside of their marriages for so many things. It's not just about the sexual attraction anymore. It's about someone they can confide in, someone they can have meaningful conversations with. And their wives at home are really not in that space because they are not literate, they are not exposed, their knowledge is limited. So the only thing the wives are good for is to take care of the home, raise the kids, attend to the man's need and all of that. But when a man wants to have, a viable conversation, with a fellow human being, especially if the female counterpart, they prefer to go out there, have a woman who actually went to school, who actually, is exposed and all of that. But those kind of women that they can have those conversations with are not the kind of women they can marry, because those kind of women are not structured, they are not built to build a home. They are not built to take care of a home. They are not molded in that aspect of, being able to attend to a man's need, take care of the home and all of that. They are only good for sexual satisfaction and, conversations and whatnot. So because of this rising pandemic, this side chick rising pandemic, a lot of women were encouraged to go back to school so that they can get some level of education and be able to hold important conversations with their husbands in order to reduce the rate at which men are leaving their marriages and going out there to seek for comfort in another woman's arm. And my mom was one of the people that went back to school. Although for her, she had this interest in teaching children, right? Because before she was married, she was a teacher. She was like, primary school, nursery school, something like that teacher. So, and she also went for teachers training. I think she went for she did like 1 year teachers training, if I remember correctly. So that's the reason why she wanted to go back to school. But you know how women gather in shops, around the houses, like that, and they have conversations around kids. This is one of the reasons I learned a lot of women were going back to school. Now, as time goes on, even parents who feel like like back in the days, they believed that men were supposed to be sent to school, while women are supposed to stay home and be trained by their mothers to be proper housekeepers and get them ready for marriages, right? But as time went on, men started coming to that understanding that their daughters also need education. Now, not every man, not every family, even most mothers do not believe their daughters need education. But a lot of people start coming to that conclusion that their daughters also need education in order to be able to thrive in their marriages, in their respective homes, which is a good thing. However, because families have started sending their daughters to school, it kind of increased their expectation when it comes to bride price. When a man is coming to marry a woman, they want to get back every penny they spent in sending her to school. They want to get back all the resources. They want to, get as much as possible, because you cannot compare an educated woman with one who is not educated. And so here comes exploitation, which is people using cultures and tradition to exploit other people, right? So women are sent to school, women are given opportunity to get exposed, to get educated, with the hopes that the men who are coming to marry them are going to pay more compared to what they used to pay. Now, these same women now who are giving out in marriage and the higher bride price are collected on their head because they were sent to school. These same women have children in their marriages and then end up being abandoned by these men. Why am I saying this? If you look at our society, when we're talking about poverty, you see that the highest rate of people, the highest rate of people who are involved, who are part and parcel of this poverty society or poverty system is mostly the women and the children. Why? Because even when a woman goes to school, she's told that she's not supposed to work. She's supposed to rely on the man to take care of her needs, right? So the essence of going to school is for her to, bring back higher bride price. It's also for her to be able to keep her husband by being able to have, intelligent conversations. And it's also for her to be presentable to the public. Like the man can take her to different places and be proud that he married a woman who is actually educated, And a lot of times, we've seen in our society, men get married, have children, and end up abandoning their wives, okay? And these women now who have been abandoned and left with the burden, the responsibility of raising these children, have no jobs, they have no source of income, they have no money, they have no property, they have nothing, right? And some of them end up returning back to their family and not get the proper assistance that they seek. And so they might end up leaving to go find their feet somewhere else, right? And some are maltreated by their in-laws. A lot of things happen, and a lot of times, a lot of these women are left behind. Now, why is it that a woman who went to school, a woman who had an education, a woman who had an opportunity to build a career, why is it that this same woman is left with nothing years down the line after getting married? It is because when a man pays a certain amount on a woman's head, To him, I think I've talked about this in one of my videos. To him, he feels like I have bought this woman. This woman is actually a property. She's like a couch, a table, something that I bought, like, right? And she belongs to him. And so he is the one in control of her life. He is the one in control of her existence. He is the one that decides what she does and what she does not do, right? Now, because of, several times I've heard men say, the woman I married with my money, I paid her bride price in full. I'm not owing anybody anything. So because of that, he holds the key to her life. He holds the key to who she becomes. She has no right to make a decision. She's not even a human being. She is basically an object in his own house. And because of that, this woman is restricted, because a lot of times, even when as a woman, you run back to your family to say, oh, look at what I'm going through. I'm a graduate. I went to school. I have the qualification to actually get a good job and, earn my own money. The family tells you the man is the head of the home. He paid your bride price. He actually married you. So you don't have a choice but to listen to him, right? This is the conversations, or these are the things you hear from family members, from friends, from religious organizations or religious leaders, from people around you telling you, he paid your bride price. So what it means that he actually owns you. Now, they're not considering the fact that when this man finally abandons this woman and leaves her to cater to the children, because you hear men say things like, oh, forget about the children. When they grow up, they'll look for their father, right? When these men end up doing this, abandoning this woman, these family members, these friends, these religious leaders forget that this woman has to survive. This woman has to, provide her own shelter, her and the children's shelter. This woman has to feed herself and the children. This woman has to, clothe herself and the children. This woman has to pay for, medical supplies and all of that, right? They forget all of those things and they just tell you, just respect him, just obey him, just listen to what he says, build your home, do the best you can to keep your family together. But when a man decides he wants to walk out, there is nothing you can do to hold him back. Does that make sense? So with this now, we are leading a lot of women into poverty. We have built a system that has actually contributed to the level of poverty we are experiencing today. And so when we talk about poverty eradication, for me, I feel like we're not looking at it from the aspect we're supposed to be looking at it. As long as a woman is seen as an object because her bride price was paid, it means that she has to listen to the man, which takes away her right to build a life for herself, her right to earn an income. And if a woman cannot earn an income, what do they think happens when the man is not in the picture? Now, it's not just about men leaving. Sometimes men, husbands pass away, which leaves the woman and the children. And in most cases, we know that in-laws do not come to the woman's rescue, right? It's difficult for you to find a woman who says that when she lost her husband, her in-laws came to her rescue. It's difficult to find, stories like that, right? So if we have built the society where we have made women objects because their dowry or their bride price was paid, and so for that reason is the man that decides if they have the right to make an income, I think we should abolish that. Okay, I think we should abolish that, because women are first of all human beings. And when we talk about gender equality, what gender equality is all about is that as a woman, I have the right to make a choice like you do as a man. Okay, we're not talking about our physical forms. We're not talking about our strengths. We're not talking about our weaknesses. It's not about what a man can do, a woman can do also. No, it's about the right to life, the right to existence, the right to choices, right? And so if we want to eradicate the poverty that has become a virus in our society, then we should go to the roots of the problem. Right? We should start looking at the roots of the problem. One of those factors that has led to the level of poverty we experience in this part of the world is the payment of bride price. Because when a woman's bride price is paid, she's considered a property. And if you're a property, you cannot decide your own identity. If they call you a table, then a table it is. If they call you a chair, then a chair you are, right? And it's the same thing for every woman. Because the woman's bride price was paid, it automatically takes away from her right to decide her identity, from her right to make a choice, from her right to build a life for herself, from her right to decide, I think I can only take care of one child, so I'm only going to have one child, right? Women are forced to have as many children because that is their responsibility, that is their job. And then when the man gets overwhelmed, he opens the door and walks away, leaving the woman behind with those children. And as a mother, for most mothers, I know there are those who can actually, if you walk away, I walk away. But there are those who cannot walk away. They want to do everything possible to, see that their children survives, right? These mothers do not even have the resources to start over. They do not have the resources to get an education. They do not have the resources to build a business. And one of the things we should understand is that a lot of women are into petty business, but the real issue here is that they don't even understand the basic principles surrounding businesses, right? What they just believe is go buy goods, go buy goods, come find a way to sell it. They don't really understand basic business strategy. And so as much as these women are being, giving grants to start small businesses, there's every possibility that in the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, that business is going to collapse because they don't have the basic understanding of business strategy, of what business is about, right? Anyway, this is something I wanted to share with us. I would like to hear your thoughts on these issues in the comments. For me, I believe that if we want to do the right thing, if we want to change our society, if we want, to change the narrative, and if we want to eradicate poverty through gender equality, then one of the best ways to do it is through abolishing bride price payments in our cultures. Yeah, I said it. Anyway, I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this. Please just leave your thoughts in the comments and I'll see you on the next one.